Greetings, everyone. Let you know this is not a robot. Oh, I can't turn it over. I was trying to show my face, but it won't let me. Let me see. Yeah, let you know I'm not a robot. Greetings, everyone. I'm still amazed with this book, The Real Mother Goose. Like the ones you have seen before, they all fake. But this book is well preserved. It's over 100 years old. And, as a melanated Moor, this is not something we need to be teaching our children. Because none of your culture is in here. I found one thing about black, and here it goes. Bad, bad black sheep, have you any wool? Yes, marry have I, 3 bags full. One for my master, one for my dame, but none for the little boy who cries in the lane. Now this is the sheep. Now when have you seen a black sheep? No, their wool is brown. I've never seen black wool. Maybe they have. I just haven't seen. Wait a minute. That's right. Most of the sheep, dark sheep is the natural color. Yeah. White is an aberration, a mutation. So when you see all the sheep being white, they're not predominant in nature unless they're being grafted. That's the truth. Let's go for most species of animals. White is not the dominant color. With ducks, cats. No. They want to change nature. Dark is always dominant. Always. So in this poem here, yes, Mary. Who is Mary? I guess he want to say Mary. One for my master. So it already made the sleeper shave a slave. He got wool for his master. And one for my lady, but none for the little boy who cries in the lane. All these characters are European characters. That's for them. Why are we raising our children on this literature? And the schools are teaching this too. The schools are teaching this. We're nowhere in here. We're not represented in any fashion or form. No way. These are European characters. That's for them. So just imagine you go through your small years. You never see yourself represented. You think that has something to do with why little children hate the dark complected dog? Because nobody likes the dark one. So that becomes self-hatred. Then you don't want to marry anybody to look like you. You want to marry outside. That's a lot of things that's taking place more. Marrying outside of your race. But the white folks, they frown on that. They say, ooh, something wrong. They don't accept that among their own. But so-called black people, they relish in it. They say, ooh. I remember when that back in the day, they used to publish it in Jet magazine. That was a big event. She married a white man, or he married a white girl. They celebrated. Now, that brings to mind Bill Cosby. This man had a whole genre of black characters, so-called black characters. Fat Albert, he's had a cartoon series, always teaching moral values. This man had books, literature. He was correcting the problem our youth have of not seeing having that positive image of themselves. He corrected all that. Maybe that's why he's hated so much for what he did. Dare you. Now, what's worse? An everyday comedian committing, they say, date rape or whatever. What about a pope molesting children for years? You never hear about that. Wow, this society has lost their mind. They was focused on a so-called black man, humiliated him, turned his name. Something happened 30 years, and ignore what happened 100 years before then. All the humiliation and mass murder, slaughter, massacres, raping that happened to us at their hands. And you want to talk about date rape? All of us paid off. If he had all them women on date rape, boy, he was some guy. He should have an award instead of being persecuted. But that shows you how this society has misplaced. What's the word? There's a word for that. Have lost their moral compass. You should be going after these priests, ministers. They're the one who have an oath not to abuse. He's just an average citizen. But I think he was persecuted because of his first he got some property they want in New York, some choice property, I think some they call it brownstone. Second, he was buying another network. And you know that was going to be changed. But you see, any person who come to change things, it takes away the comfortability because now people are waking up, and you can't have a slave wake up because that's going to affect your bottom line. I'm just telling you like it is. Can't have people waking up. Yeah. Go in online and get his literature. I'm what the book what I put out, my content maybe not for a lot of people during this time. And I do have copies of all my content because I know they can erase it here anytime they feel like it. But mine's not going to be lost because I have mine preserved. I have all my content preserved. So YouTube go away tomorrow, I still got my content. So maybe years later, people read this and say, oh, this man was ahead of his time. The people in his day didn't accept having characters that look like you. You know, we went through this in the 70s. We started these things in the 70s. Bill Cosby was one of the main ones, was changing the paradigm. Children had characters they could relate to in the community, cartoons they can watch. Why don't they show this on TV? all his literature he put out. Yeah, they want to keep you in a slate, keep you in that darkened place, keep you hypnotized, sunken place, as the movie said. They want to keep you in that sunken place. Well, I'm here to raise you up. And having your children grow up watching these characters is really damaging to you. Because you don't see yourself. If you don't see yourself, that causes mental issues. That's very that causes serious mental issues when you never see yourself in a positive light. Or see yourself at all. And it's amazing that these things was addressed 50 years ago. That was the Black conscious movement was about in the 60s and 70s. These people have kept everything under wraps. They haven't changed anything. Things are no different. Matter of fact, they're worse now than it was in the 60s and 70s. I'm going to tell you how. We knew what the problem was because we had people who wasn't afraid to speak out. We knew a change had to be made. The children was speaking out. And so that was a consciousness level there. We had pride. We call it black pride. We fell in love with that word black. And you see where it's gotten us. Because that took us away from our creator. Took us away from our ancestors. You got to identify with the people. Don't you know that's a slavery term? To identify you by your complexion? So a lot of us missed the boat. Martin Luther King missed the boat. He didn't know he was Moor, so he didn't teach it. Elijah Muhammad didn't teach it. He knew because he was a follower of Noble Drew Ali. I'm trying to understand why would somebody do that? Well, he was colored, so maybe that's why. Farrakhan, same thing, colored man. Keep the dark-skinned man down. Khalid, now he rose up. He said, we're Moors. The only one who did it without fear. That's one of my heroes. Malcolm X did it. Okay, I think I've ranted long enough. Just want to tell you all to keep the faith, as Adam Clayton Powell used to tell us. Now that's a character. I think he's a representative from New York back in the day. He didn't. Now this was a colored man who thought like a black man, a melanated man. So I can't say all colored people are like that. But he had no fear. Adam Clayton Powell, my man. Even though he was white looking, he knew who he was. And they couldn't just treat him any kind of way. So there's a divide in the so-called black community between these colored people and melanated people. And it appears to me, I hope I'm wrong, but it appears to me that these colored people always want to sell out. You know, Du Bois, light skinned black man, he called. He was in a day with um, what's his name, Marcus Garvey. He said he's ugly. Like he is looking white, calling himself black, saying a dark skinned black man is ugly. Don't you see the mental problem he had? You're the one who's not original. You're the one who have been, nature have been compromised. That's not ugly. Well, we can go back further than that. We can go back to the time of the Moors in Europe. You know, all of them, I would say, from my research, the empire started to fall when they started marrying the European women. Now, as long as they was just sleeping with them and not having children, that wasn't accepted. But then they started having children, and that was an abomination because that was against their whole religion and everything. And it was their children, the offspring of the Moors and Europeans, that eventually grew up and threw out their fathers. Yes, that's what's happened. Unless you can show me different. So that shows you that these colored people have been devious way back. Not all of them. Because let me tell you now, my mother and grandfather was identified as colored, meaning they had a light complexion. I don't know why color is such a big thing with me. Maybe because of my experience being dark skinned, being able to tune into people's thoughts and how they perceive you. Don't even know you, but always have a false perception of you, an evil perception of you. That's sickness. That's a sickness. It is. Prejudice is a sickness. It's not normal. Y'all who suffer from that, y'all need to go to therapy. Now you can look at someone and think, "Oh, they're different," but when you have a negative perspective, when you have a negative perspective of someone because of their skin color, that reflects on you. That reflects that negativity is coming from your roots. It has nothing to do with that person, and that's because of the way the filth you've been fed. It's everywhere. And as I get older, man, I'm seeing it's like my eyes opening for the first time. A lot of time in my life, I didn't see certain things, and maybe it's good I didn't see, but now I see it all. And this is a way for me to deal with it. This is therapy for me, just talking about it. I hope YouTube understands. I'm not trying to create more divisions than they already are. I'm just trying to bring some peace to my own mind. And I can tell y'all not teaching your children anything because they haven't changed. They're the same as you. They're worse than you. When I grew up, children used to smile, all complexion, all races. They'll smile and wave at you. Now they got their head hang down. And that's one thing about so-called white people. They are so guilty. They can't even look you in the face. Y'all sick. Y'all are sick. That guilt has made y'all sick because your ancestors gave it to you and you're giving it to your children. And that's why y'all committing suicide and doing all these evil things. You want us to sleep with babies. Yes, that's your culture. Y'all bringing that in. That's nothing black people ever did. We never had that filth making certain deplorable behavior acceptable. That's not from us. That's your culture. And now that the wicked got in power, that's what they want to impose on everybody. And you wonder why the world is the way it is. But I'm going to read this book was brought to my mind, The Fall of America, Elijah Muhammad. Even though I say he was a sellout, he did write some books that talked about the truth. So you can talk about the truth, not be truthful. But he never told us we was Moors. How can I forgive him for that? That's my time. Thank you.